Okay, so we continue with our discussion on strike vote balloting as the fifth requirement for a valid strike. So in strike vote balloting, the union would have to call all the members. Okay? Of course, this is done after you have notified the National Conciliation Mediation Board that you will be getting the strike vote. Okay? Now, the majority of the members of the union must vote in order to approve the strike. Now, pag hindi inaprubahan ng majority yung desisyon ng union na mag-strike, and then the union proceeded with the strike, yun yung tinatawag nating wildcat strike because it is not approved by the majority of the members of the union. Because all decisions, including that decision to stage a strike, must be approved by the majority. Okay? So that's the number 5 requirement for a valid strike. Take note, all of this must be complied with. Otherwise, the strike shall be declared illegal. Okay. So when do you get the strike vote? Now, during the cooling off period, let's say for example, it's a 30-day period. 30 days kasi ang reason natin ay bargaining deadlock. Okay? So during the 30-day period, while the NCMB is facilitating the preventive mediation proceedings, preventive in order to stop the strike from happening or to prevent it from happening, itong si employer ay paasa. Nagka-UTI ka na't lahat hindi naman tinupad yung kanyang pangako. So what will happen? The union informed the NCMB of the desire to get the strike vote. So kailan pwedeng kunin ang strike vote? Pwede itong kunin during the cooling off period. Okay? So kinuha during the cooling off period. For example, nagdesisyon ang union na kunin ang strike vote on the 22nd day. Tapos, kinabukasan, isasubmit nyo yan. From the time you submitted your strike vote report, kasi kailangan isubmit yan Hindi ka pwede mag-strike within 7 days. Kaya lang, kapag kinuha ninyo ang strike vote at inireport ninyo during the cooling off period, the 7-day strike ban shall start at the end of the cooling off period. So kung 30 yon, kinuha nyo during the 22nd day, tapos sinubmit ninyo on the 23rd, tatapusin nyo yung 30 days, saka kayo magdadagdag ng 7 days. Yan ang sabi ng yung National Federation of Sugar Workers versus Obihera noong 1982. And that was affirmed by that case of Coca-Cola Bottlers Post-Mix Workers Union versus NLRC noong 1998. You can get the strike vote and report it to the NCMB during the cooling off period. Okay? Now, so isasubmit nyo yung strike vote report. That's the sixth requirement. Isubmit ninyo at least 7 days bago kayo mag-strike. Pero kung isinubmit ninyo during the cooling off period, yung inyong 7-day strike ban must start at the end of the cooling off period. Okay? Ayan. Kasi subject to the prescribed cooling off period. Now, the 7-day strike ban is reckoned from the time the notice of strike is given to the NCMB. Hindi lamang DOLE, kundi NCMB. Okay? Now, ano ang purpose ng 7-day strike ban? The purpose is to give an opportunity to the Department of Labor. Hindi pa ginawang NCMB. NCMB naman talaga yan kaya nalilito ang sambayanan Dapat NCMB, nilagay pa Department of Labor. Of course, ang NCMB, Sanitas Agency to the Department of Labor, hindi ito line bureau, no? Tapos sasabihin, Department of Labor. Okay? Para malaman ng NCMB kung tama ba yung pagkuha ng boto o kung inimpluwensyahan ng mga opisyal yung kanilang mga miyembro. Kasi bawal ngang impluwensyahan eh. Maliwanag. Now, the reckoning point of the strike ban is 7 days yung strike ban eh. Pero pag isinabmit ninyo, as I keep on saying, you got the strike vote on the 22nd day. 22nd day from the time you give the notice to strike. Ngayon, ang ginawa, 23rd day, isinabmit nyo. O, di ba, pagkatapos ng 30 days, saka pa lang tatakbo yung 7 days. Iyan ang sabi ng National Federation of Sugar Workers versus Obehera. At hindi naman nagbabago yan. Kaya madaling intindihin kung babasahin lang yung jurisprudence. Di ba? O, ang sabi, the 7-day requirement shall be counted from the day following the expiration of the cooling off period. This is in the event the strike vote report is submitted during the cooling off period. Kasi hindi naman bawal na kunin mo yung strike vote at i-report mo during the cooling off period. Maliwanag? Yan. So ngayon, ito, bigyan natin ng example. So para mas maliwanag sa sambayanan, you filed your notice of strike on June 1. Okay? And then, ang cooling off period mo is from June 1 to July 1. 30 days, di ba? The first day excluded, the last day included. Okay, 30 days. Now, that's your cooling off period. Pag-uusapin kayo dyan ng NCMB. Preventive mediation as we call it. And then, ang problema, paasa lang itong employer eh. Parang dinidribble ka lang. Sabi ko nga sa inyo kanina, parang Ferris wheel ang dating sa buhay mo. Kala mo pinapaligaya ka, yung pala pinapaikot-ikot ka lang, wala kayong patutunguhan. So anong gagawin natin? Ang gagawin natin, notify the NCMB. Ito, June 19 tayo nag-decide to notify the NCMB. Ano ang gagawin natin sa NCMB? Hoy, NCMB, tomorrow we'll get the strike vote. Anong sabi ng Capital Medical Center versus NLRC? Within 24 hours, mag-notify kayo bago nyo kunin yung strike vote. Otherwise, your strike will become illegal. Ngayon, from the time na nag-submit kayo ng strike vote, i-report ninyo yan. Maaring i-report ninyo on June 20, kaya lang, baka matraffic kayo eh. So, kinabukasan na. Or pwede namang hindi nyo i-submit, saka nyo na lang i-submit. Kasi kung isa-submit nyo rin naman, aantayin nyo pa rin yung end of the cooling off period and then you add 7. Ngayon kung yan ay 15 days because your ground is unfair labor practice, then it is 15 plus 7. Pero pag ito ay union busting, immediately notify the NCMB, kukunin namin ng strike vote, i-report ninyo and then you count 7 days, pwede na kayo mag-strike. Why? The life and the existence of the union are at stake. Okay. So, sinubmit natin yung report sa NCMB. By the way, dun sa strike vote, ang boboto, as I said earlier, ay yung mga miyembro lang ng union. Kung sa isang bargaining unit, may 100 employees, pero sa 100 employees, only 60 are members of the union, only the 60 would be voting. Those who are not members of the union are not allowed to vote. Because they're not members of the union. Pag nag-strike ang union, hindi sila kasali dun sa strike. Okay? Ngayon, ang strike ban natin would be from the time of the ending of your cooling off period. Bakit? Kasi bibigyan natin ng pagkakataon ng NCMB para i-verify tama ba yung nangyaring botohan, wala bang impluensya dito? Wala bang nang impluensya? Maliwanag. Now, so 7 days yan. Then, you can have your strike not on the 7th day. Palagpasin nyo muna yung 7 days. On the 8th day na. Kasi yung 7 days, strike ban yun. Maliwanag. Now, there's another situation. Magawin natin. Nag-file kayo ng notice of strike June 1, the same. And then you have June 1 to July 1 as your strike, tawag dito, cooling off period. Now, 30 days yan. Assuming our ground, again, is bargaining deadlock. Kasi pagka unfair labor practice, 15 days lang yan. So gawin na natin medyo mahaba-haba. Kasi normally, ito naman ang nagiging ground sa field. Bihira naman na mag-i-strike yan because of unfair labor practice. Ang normal na dahilan ng strike, majority sa experience natin, ay yung bargaining deadlock. Kasi nga, nagbabargain ito, nangihingi yung union, ang employer, limitado ang gustong ibigay. Kasi alam nyo, I have to tell you this, no? I've been telling this to my students. Ang mindset ng union is to get as much as it can. Mas marami, mas masaya. Mas mahal na benepisyo, mas masaya. Ang employer naman to give as little as possible. Talagang di magkakasundo. Opposite extreme yan eh. Para mong pinagsama yung tubig at langis. Mga ganyang pelikula ng mga panahon ni Ate Guy, ni Nora Honor, na namayapa na. Okay? So ngayon, ganun pa rin. Ang problema, inantay natin kasi nagkaroon ng preventive mediation proceedings, umasa tayo against hope na baka naman itong si employer ay bibigay doon sa ating demands. So we waited and we waited until June 30. Teka muna, June 30 na, wala pa nangyayari sa usapan natin. Mukhang dinidribble lang talaga tayo ni employer. So anong gagawin natin? We notify the NCMB on June 30 o NCMB. Tomorrow, kasi 24 hours ang kailangan natin we will get the strike vote. And then we get the strike vote on July 1 para 24 hours. We submitted the strike vote report on July 2. So ang gagawin natin, patatapusin natin yung cooling off period, tapos July 1 yung tapos niyan, hindi ba? Edi magdadagdag tayo ng 7 days kasi sinubmit natin July 1 so magdadagdag ka ng 7 days. July 2 na natin isinubmit yung report. So July 2 hanggang 9 kasi 7 days yan. Then we can have a valid strike on July 10. Naliwanag? These requirements are mandatory. If the union does not comply, the strike becomes illegal. Okay? Now, yan ang sinasabi ng PIMCO Industries versus PILA, PIMCO Industries Labor Association, that these requirements are mandatory in the union's failure to comply renders the strike illegal. Okay? Now, minsan valid yung purpose mo. Tama naman, di ba? Maganda yung purpose mo kasi paglalaban mo yung karapatan ng mga manggagawa. But the means employed are illegal. Under Article 279, nandiyan yung mga prohibitions, di ba? Prohibited activities in the conduct of the strike. Okay? That, if committed, will invalidate your strike even if you have a valid purpose. Remember, in a democracy, the end does not justify the means. Okay? 2017 bar exam. As I said, we will integrate the frequently asked questions at saka yung jurisprudence para isahan na lang. Kaya lang pagka gusto nyong pagpanonoorin nyo na ito, baka hindi nyo kayang panoorin ng isang upuan lamang, pwede naman nating i-chop-chop yung topics. Pero kung kaya ninyo, alam nyo, ang human brain kasi, natitrain yan Kung kaya nyong manood ng lecture, with na you can still, your mind is still receptive, nare-retain pa rin, you can go on. Pero pag sa tingin nyo, hindi na pumapasok, wala nang nare-retain, take a walk. Huwag pilitin. Why? Pag pinilit ninyo, para yung timba na isinahod mo sa gripo, puno na, wala nang paglalagyan, tatapon lang yan. So you're wasting your time. Kaya pagka ganyan, habang nagre-review kayo, hindi ito sprint, it's a marathon. So matagalang laban itong pagre-review for the bar. Ha? But when you are reviewing for the bar, you give it all you have. Give it your best. Huwag nang magtira pa kasi pag nagtira ka pa, baka next year uulit ka. Di ba? Ibuhos nyo ng lahat. Kung ikaw ay refresher na, all the more na ibuhos mo na. Huwag mong titipirin ang sarili mo habang ikaw ay nagre-review sa bar at magte-take ng bar. Kung kailangan bumili ng laptop, bumili ng magandang laptop. Kasi kailangan natin yan kapag kayo ay magte-take na ng exam. Kasi anong gugustuhin mo? Kapag ka nag-exam ka, saka mag-bag down yung laptop mo. Mangutang ka na, bayaran mo na lang pag nag-abogado ka. Di ba? Huwag niyong titipirin ang sarili niyo habang kayo nagre-review at nag-take ng bar exam. Give it everything you have as if there is no tomorrow. Walang reservation kasi pag nag-reserve ka pa, baka paulitin ka next year eh. Give it everything. Give your all. Parang ano sabi ni Mariah Carey? I give my all. Okay, so 2017 bar exam. Given the liability for an individual, strike is individual, not collective. State when the participating union officers and members may be terminated from employment because of the illegal strike. 4 points, pero dati 4 ngayon lang 5 points na yan. So ito na. What are the consequences of an illegal strike? You have that case of Biggs versus Mongkakas. Naksubago ko pa pigsasabi sa Indo. I've been telling this to you earlier. Diyan sa Bicol, maraming Biggs dyan. Ngayon, for union officers, there's a distinction between officers and members of the union. For union officers who participated in an illegal strike, that is a ground for their termination of employment. Sino magsasabi ba na illegal ang strike? Aba, ang magsasabi ng illegal ang strike, dalawa. Either ang labor arbiter pag ipinail sa kanya kasi jurisdiction niya yan, or ang Secretary of Labor. Kapag kasi Secretary ay nag-assume ng jurisdiction under Article 278, Paragraph G. Usapan natin maya-mayang konti. Okay? So if a union officer participates in an illegal strike, that's a ground for termination of employment, that's a just cause. So kailangan mo lang ng due process. But make sure that the declaration of the illegal strike is final and executory. Kasi kung inaapila pa yan, hindi ka pa pwedeng magtanggal. Bakit? Hindi pa final na illegal yung strike nila. Malay mo sabihin ng Korte Suprema, legal pala yung strike nila. Unless may final judgment, the employer cannot dismiss union officers who participated in an illegal strike. Now, for union members, mere participation in an illegal strike is not a ground for termination. They can only be dismissed for participating in an illegal strike if they committed, prohibited, and illegal acts during the strike, or they participated in the commission of an illegal activity during the conduct of the strike, like violence. Diba? Bawal ang violence. Baka pwede yung guitar. Yung violence, bawal. Okay? Now, and there is substantial proof of their participation that they are clearly identified to have committed the prohibited and illegal acts. Kaya minsan yung mga polis nagpipicture-picture, di ba? Ay sabi ng mga realista, bawal nyo kaming picturean kasi data privacy. Ibang usapan yan kasi kapag ka nandun kayo sa picket line, naka-strike kayo, alam nyo, pwede naman mag-strike na walang picket eh. Ano ba yung picketing? Mamaya pag-usapan natin yan. Pag nandun kayo sa picket line, dahil naka-strike kayo, nag-picket kayo, there is no expectation of privacy. Nasa public place kayo eh. So pwede kayong picturean. Di ba? Kaya lang minsan kasi OA yung invocation ng batas eh. Di ba? Na data privacy. Pero nasa public place ka. Ano ang privacy doon? Nasa public place ka. Kung gusto mo ng privacy, huwag ka pumunta sa public place. Okay? Now, yan participation in illegal strike, ang sabi ng Korte Suprema, note that the verb participates is preceded by the adverb knowingly. This reflects the intent of the legislature to require knowledge. Dapat alam niya na nag-participate siya sa alam niya na illegal yung strike. Kasi dito sabi ng employee, hindi ko naman alam na illegal yun eh. Oh, there was no knowledge. That's why according to the Supreme Court, knowingly participating in an illegal strike. Okay? The provision is worded in such a way as to make it very difficult for employers to circumvent the law by arbitrarily dismissing an employee in the guise of exercising management prerogative. This is but one aspect of the state's constitutional and statutory mandate to protect the rights of employees to self-organization. Okay? So mahigpit. Kaya nga sabi ko sa inyo, para tanggalin nyo ang isang union officer or union member because of illegal strike, there must be a final judgment that the strike was indeed illegal. Otherwise, premature yung pag-dismiss ninyo sa employee. Now, pwede bang mag-strike ang hospital at medical institution? Sagot, depende sa hospital or medical institution. Because public hospitals and public medical institutions are owned by the government, therefore the employees are government employees, they cannot have their strike. If the hospital is a private hospital, well and good. They just comply with all the requirements of a valid strike under Article 278 of the Labor Code. But, may karagdagan po ito, sabi ng Capital Medical Center versus Trajano. The striking union must maintain, or in case of lockout, the locking out employer must provide and maintain effective skeletal workforce of medical and other health personnel. Why? Life and health are at stake. Nakataya ang buhay at kalusugan ng mga tao dito. Kasi baka mamaya, like ko example sa mga estudyante ko ito, nasa operating room, hiniwa na ni doktor. Yun dyan. Kasi uoperahan. Hiniwa na. Sabi ng nurse, Doc, nakastrike tayo. Ganun ba nakastrike? O sige, bukas na lang yan. Balikan na lang kita. Diba? Hindi po pwede yun. So, maintain a skeletal workforce. Tawagin yung mga kalansay. Sila muna magtrabaho. Joke lang yan. Masyadong literal. Okay. 2017 bar exam. Pursuant to his power under section. Yan na naman. Section na naman tayo. 278G. Sabi 263G. Yung kasi yung lumang article number 263G. The Labor Code, the Secretary of Labor assumed jurisdiction over a 3-day-old strike in Armor Steel Plates Incorporated, one of the country's bigger manufacturers of steel plates, and ordered all the striking employees to return to work. The striking employees ignored the order to return to work. What conditions may justify the Secretary of Labor to assume jurisdiction? What are the consequences of the assumption of jurisdiction by the Secretary of Labor and of the disobedience to the return to work? Explain your answer. 2.5, 2.5. So 5 points din. That was 2017. Ito po ang sagot dyan. Under Article 278, Paragraph G. Okay, unahin muna natin. What conditions may justify the Secretary of Labor to assume jurisdiction? Ito na yung assumption of jurisdiction under Article 278, Paragraph G. That when in his opinion there is a strike or an impending strike or lockout in an industry indispensable to national interest, the Secretary of Labor and Employment may assume jurisdiction and resolve the dispute or certify the dispute to the Commission. Okay? Oh. Diba? Anong sabi ng batas? By the way, kahit yung presidente ng Pilipinas pwedeng mag-assume ng jurisdiction, Oh. Bakit nga ba assumption of jurisdiction? Una, pag kayo na, hindi ka na assuming. Di ba? Mahirap yung assuming kaya nasasaktan Kasi marami namang kasing, anong tawag doon? Pa-fall. Di ba? Yung mga tipong ikaw yung pinakilig pero iba naman ang inibig. Okay, mahirap yan. Okay? So, when the Secretary of Labor or the President of the Philippines will assume jurisdiction, ano ang justification? It is an industry indispensable to national interest. And there is likely a strike or lockout. Pwede siyang mag-assume ng jurisdiction even before the strike or lockout is declared. Okay? Or even if the strike is ongoing or the lockout is ongoing, the Secretary of Labor may assume jurisdiction when, in his opinion. Ay, meron bang opinion na mali? Opinion niya yun eh. Sa opinion ni Secretary of Labor, it is an industry indispensable to national interest. I-assume niya ang jurisdiction. Bakit nga ba ina-assume? Kasi hindi sa kanya eh. Kung sa kanya yan, hindi na siya mag-a-assume. Kanino ba ang jurisdiction dito? You go to Article 224. Ano yon? The jurisdiction belongs to the labor arbiter. Kaya lang, pag kay arbiter, pipila ka. Ayaw mong pumila. So, anong gagawin? Di mag-assume si secretary. So, kaya siya naging assuming. Kaya napunta sa kanya ang jurisdiction. But in reality, the jurisdiction does not belong to the secretary. It belongs to the labor arbiter. Kaya lang nag-assume siya. Bakit siya nag-assume? Ang justification, in his opinion, this is an industry indispensable to national interest. So what can he do? One, when he assumes jurisdiction, he decides the dispute. Okay? Pag sinabi niyan decide the dispute, ang sasabihin ni Labor Secretary, legal yung strike nila. Ako naka-strike na. Legal yung strike. Employer, ibigay mo yung kailangan niya. O kaya, hindi legal yung strike. Kaya, tapusin nyo ang strike nyo. Okay? So what do you do kapag kaganyan? Ay mag-aapila tayo. You file a motion for reconsideration to the decision of that Secretary of Labor kay Secretary of Labor. Upon the denial of your motion, that's the time you go to the Court of Appeals on petition for certiorari under Rule 65. You allege grave abuse of discretion. Bakit? Opinion niya lang ito eh. Discretion niya ito eh. Iyan kung dinesisyonan niya. There is another situation, the Secretary or the President assumed jurisdiction, yet hindi dinesisyonan. Ano ang ginawa? Isinertify sa NLRC. Ito yung mga certified cases. In a certified case, the NLRC would conduct the hearing. Doon kayo magpapile ng inyong position paper. Kaya, you will now follow the procedure at the NLRC. But at least, nandun ka na sa mas mataas na level, hindi ka na dumaan kay arbiter. Hindi kay arbiter ibibigay ito kasi yan ay yan ay certified cases. So, na-bypass mo na si arbiter kasi inassume na ni secretary, you go now to the NLRC. So, whatever is the decision of the NLRC, you file a motion for reconsideration, then you follow the procedure. Certiorari ka dun sa Court of Appeals, and then after that, to the Supreme Court. Okay? So that's the procedure when the Secretary assumes jurisdiction. Even the President can assume jurisdiction in a strike or lockout. Bakit? Yung Secretary of Labor ay alter ego niya lang yan eh. Kung nagagawa ng kanyang alter ego, the all the more na kaya niyang gawin. Hindi ba? Okay. Now, the determination of whether the industry is indispensable to national interest or not is what? Discretionary. The foregoing notwithstanding, the President of the Philippines shall not be precluded from determining the industries that, in his opinion, are indispensable to the national interest and from intervening at any time and assuming jurisdiction over any such labor dispute in order to settle or terminate the same. Di ba? Plenary power yan. Ibig sabihin, kahit na anong industry, pwede siya mag-assume. Kung hindi ka nga lang payag, pwede ka namang mag-apila. What if, pag ganito, pagka hindi pa nag-strike, hindi pa nag-lockout, nag-assume na ng jurisdiction ng secretary or ang presidente, stop na yan, wala nang lockout, wala nang strike. What if the president or the secretary of labor nag-assume ng jurisdiction when the strike is already ongoing? Now, anong gagawin? May automatic return to work order yan. Even if the union or the employer, in case of lockout, does not receive a return to work order, there is an implied automatic return to work order. Kailangan niyang bumalik sa trabaho. Okay? Immediate yan. Now, in case of lockout, the employer must readmit all the lockout employees going back to the same term and conditions prior to the strike or lockout. Ayan, pag ongoing na, nililinaw natin yan. Now, all striking employees must return to work when a strike has already taken place. At the time the Secretary of Labor assumes jurisdiction over the labor dispute, all striking employees shall immediately return to work. Bumalik kayo, walang dahilan para hindi bumalik. The employer shall immediately resume operations and readmit all the workers under the same terms and conditions prevailing before the strike. Yan ang epekto ng assumption of jurisdiction. Even if there is no separate return to work order. Linaw, ha? Okay. Now, para safe, ang ginagawa dyan ng secretary, pag nag-assume ng jurisdiction at naka-strike na, kung wala pang strike, no problem. Kasi hindi pa nagsisimula yung strike eh. Pero kung nakapag-strike na, mag-i-issue yan ng separate return to work order. As I said, kahit walang separate return to work order, immediately you have to return to work pag nag-assume ng jurisdiction. A return to work order imposes a duty that must be discharged more than it confers a right that may be waived. While the workers may choose not to obey. Pwede naman hindi sila sumunod eh, kasi kung ayaw, di mo naman pwedeng pilitin eh. But they do so at the risk of severing meaning to cut off their relationship with their employer. Okay? Clear tayo? Now, yung return to work order is immediately executory. Si employer, hindi siya po pwede magsabi, ay, ayoko, naka-strike kayo. Oh. At yung employee, hindi po pwede magsabi, teka muna, nag-a-appeal pa kami. You obey first before you appeal. Oh. Kasi the moment you refuse to comply with the assumption of jurisdiction order, even if there is no separate return to work order, you do not comply, that strike becomes illegal. Okay? At may consequences yan. The discretion to assume jurisdiction may be exercised by the Secretary of Labor and Employment without the necessity of a prior notice or hearing given to any of the parties. Notice is not required. Magugulat na lang kayo, nag-assume na pala ng jurisdiction ng Secretary. Anong dahilan? The rationale for this primary assumption of jurisdiction can justifiably rest in its own consideration of the exigency of the situation in relation to the national interest. Kasi, ang sabi nga doon sa Article 278, Paragraph G, hindi paro-paro G, Paragraph G, when in his opinion, kaya in-underscore natin yung salitang when in his opinion. So, opinion niya eh. Diba? Who are you to question the opinion of the Secretary? Oh, kung gusto mong questionin yan, mag-certiorari ka. Why? The basis of the assumption of jurisdiction is police power. Oh, the Secretary when the Secretary exercises his powers is granted great breadth of discretion in order to find a solution to a labor dispute. Kasi nga, bagamat pinapayagan natin na mag-unionize ang mga Filipino workers, bagamat pinapayagan natin na sila ay mag-strike, but as much as possible, the government would like to avoid strikes and lockout because it does not show a healthy economy. It is a manifestation of a troubled economy. Why? Hindi kontento yung mga employees mo eh. It will dissuade foreign investors. Bakit ba puro na lang foreign investors? Kasi yung mga Pilipino nag-i-invest sa ibang bansa eh. Di ba? Hindi katulad sa Indonesia. Ang Indonesia daw ang second ba o first na pinaka-corrupt na bansa sa mundo. Palagi ko China, ayaw lang magpa-survey. Di ba? Pero, ang ginagawa ng mga Indonesians na mayayaman, doon ini-invest sa bansa nila. Di ba? Dito sa atin, sa ibang bansa ini-invest eh. Kaya hindi mo mahuli dito yung mga mayaman na nagnanakaw sa kaban ng bayan kasi doon sa ibang bansa ini-invest hindi dito eh. Ilang mga Pilipino na ang napakaraming property sa abroad. na kapag ka iniimbestigahan, nagkakabukingan. Okay? So the assumption of jurisdiction is based on police power. It is plenary, as I said. And the discretionary in nature to enable him to effectively and efficiently dispose of the dispute. Maliwanag? Ayan. Okay. What about a lockout? Lockout means any temporary refusal of the employer to furnish work as a result of a labor dispute. Ayan din naman nakalagay doon sa implementing rules. Masabi ko sa inyo, ang implementing rules ginagaya lang. Binabaliktad lang minsan. Okay. Lockout is the temporary refusal of the employer to furnish work on account of a labor dispute. O ganun lang kasimple. Lockout. Bakit ni-lockout? Kasi pinalabas yung mga empleyado tsaka nila. Nasa labas sila, kaya lockout. Eh mahirap pag nasa loob yung empleyado tsaka mo ilalak. Abay, lock-in yan. So serious illegal detention. May problema tayo dyan. Okay? Ayan. So what are the requisites of a valid lockout? Now take note, ang employer ang magla-lockout. Siya ang ayaw magbigay ng trabaho because of a labor dispute. What are the valid grounds? Bargaining deadlock and unfair labor practice. As I said earlier, we do not include union busting. Why? Wala namang union si employer na tatanggalin ng union. Oh. Kaya dalawa lang ang valid grounds for a lockout. Okay? And then, syempre si employer magpapadala din siya ng notice of lockout. Saan? Sa National Conciliation Mediation Board. Okay? So, ganun din. Na kapag ka ito'y bargaining deadlock, 30 days. Kapag ka naman ito'y unfair labor practice, 15 days. Walang union busting. Employer siya eh. Wala siyang union. Oh. Now, during that cooling off period yan, yun din yung notice na yun din ang cooling off period. Okay? And then, you have to notify, the employer must also notify the NCMB of the desire to get the lockout vote 24 hours before. Pareho lang ng requirements. Okay? Kalagay doon sa Article 278F. Take note, the ministry. Ngayon yan ay department, pero ang katotohanan, it's the NCMB. Ano ba kasi ang ginagawa during the cooling off period? Ganun din, pag-uusapin din ng employer at ang union, sino mag-facilitate? The National Conciliation Mediation Board. On its own initiative or upon the request of any affected party. Hoy, NCMB, wala naman nangyayari dun sa usapan natin dun kay union eh. Ang union, paasa din, ayaw din tumupad sa pangako. Di bukas kukunin na namin yung strike vote. So you get, not the strike vote, but the lockout vote. Okay. Sino naman ang boboto during the lockout vote balloting? Ang boboto naman dito ay yung mga direktor ng kumpanya. Either the board of directors in case of stock and profit corporation or the board of trustees in case of non-stock non-profit corporation. Pagka majority ng members of the board agreed to have a lockout, then isasubmit nyo rin yan doon sa NCMB. Kailangan ng majority vote. Majority sabi ayaw namin ng lockout. Di walang lockout. Pagka nag-lockout ka, illegal yung lockout mo. Majority sabi gusto namin ng lockout. You have to submit the lockout vote doon sa NCMB. Ang sabi diyan, ministry. Di na ulit na natin yan. Diba? Submit that to the NCMB. Majority gusto mag-lockout. And then from the time you submitted it, you observe the lockout ban, which is 7 days. Now, ganun din ang rule. Na kapag kinuha ninyo yung lockout vote at isinabmit ninyo during the cooling off period, ang reckoning ng lockout ban is at the time your cooling off period ended. So magdagdag ka ng 7 days doon. Maliwanag? Okay. Under Article 279, by the way, kapag ang employer ay hindi nag-comply sa mga requirements na ito ng valid lockout, the lockout will be declared illegal. So what happens? What's the consequence of an illegal lockout? Hindi natin tatanggalin si employer, siya may-ari ng kumpanya. Ang consequence nito, for every day that the employees were locked out and the lockout was declared illegal by final judgment, the employer must pay every employee every day. For all the days na na-lockout siya, babayaran siya ng kanyang sweldo. Maliwanag. Yun ang consequence ng illegal lockout. Okay. Under Article 279, there are prohibited activities. Ano yon? No labor organization or employer shall declare a strike or lockout without first having bargained collectively. Natural. Kaya ka nga nagbabargain, di ba? Saka lang pagka nagkaroon ng deadlock, saka ka lang magsasubmit ng notice of strike or notice of lockout. No strike or lockout shall be declared after assumption of jurisdiction. O yan ang basis natin dun sa declaration of an illegal strike after the assumption of jurisdiction by the President or the Secretary. Hindi na Minister, Secretary na. Now, the Labor Code is emphatic according to the Supreme Court against the use of violence, coercion, and intimidation. Pwede siguro yung gitar, at hindi pwede yung violence, during a strike. And to this end, prohibits the obstruction of free passage to and from the employee's premises for lawful premises, hindi, purposes yata yan. Diba? At napapansin nyo, kapag may picket line, nakalagay military and police, 50 meters away. Alam nyo, discounted dyan. Kasi sinusunod na batas dyan, yung batas pambansa bilang 880, ay nakalagay doon 100 meters. Hindi ko alam bakit 50 meters lang sila. Baka may discount. Okay? Ngayon, kapag ka naka-strike kayo, the employees must not block the passageway, the ingress and egress. Okay? Kasi naka-strike kayo, hindi kayo magtatrabaho. Pero hindi nyo harangan yung gate. Pag hinarangan nyo yung gate, illegal yan. Diba? At ito pa ang napansin natin dyan sa mga striking employees. Una, di naka-strike sila. Haharangan yung gate. Walang makakapasok, walang makakalabas. Illegal yun. Magiging illegal yung strike ninyo. Tapos, yung mga empleyado na hindi miyembro ng union, kailangan nilang pumasok. Kasi pag hindi sila pumasok, maa-absent sila, hindi sila pasusweldohin. Sabi ng mga union officers and members, wala kayong pakisama. Ang pinaglalaban namin ay para din sa ating lahat. Makisama kayo, huwag kayo pumasok. Mali yun. Huwag natin pipilitin yung ayaw kasi una, ang dapat lang sumama sa strike ninyo ay yung mga miyembro ng union. Yung mga hindi miyembro ng union, wala silang obligasyon na sumama sa strike. In fact, they are obligated to report to work. Bakit ba ayaw papasukin? Kasi ang gusto ng union, kapag ka nag-strike sila, wala na talagang trabaho. Okay? Paralisado. Para maramdaman ni employer na kailangan mo kami. Paano naman yung hindi miyembro ng union ninyo? Assuming meron kayong 100 employees in the bargaining unit. Ang miyembro ng union ay 60. Yung 60 lang ang hindi papasok. Yung 40 malayang pumasok yan. Di ba? Kaya nga, ang kailangang manalong union ay yung majority para pag tumigil ng trabaho because there is a strike, paralisado si employer kasi majority hindi nagtatrabaho. But we cannot compel those who are not members of the union not to report and join the striking employees. Bawal yon, sila ang matatanggal sa trabaho nun. Okay? So sana naiintindihan ito, no? When I was still having unions as my clients, pinapaliwanag ko yan. Hindi naman umabot sa strike yung aking mga naging kliyenteng union kasi number one, mga eskwelahan. Number two, dun sa factory, nakakasundo naman. Kaya hindi naman natutuloy yung strike. Although sinasabi ko ito, no? Kasi isa yan dun sa mga naging racket natin ng bagong abogado tayo. May budget kasi dito ang Department of Labor for labor union education. So may mga union na nag-a-avail niyan, may kanyan subject to liquidation. Ini-engage nila ako para mag-lecture sa kanila on union education or labor education. O yan, sinasabi ko sa kanila, assuming mag-strike kayo at valid naman yung strike ninyo, huwag yung aharangan yung gate at huwag mag-commit ng anumang uri ng violence. Diba? Ayan. So, an employee who is dismissed for cause is generally not entitled to financial assistance. Bakit ito napunta dito? Diba? O, napag-usapan na natin yan. O, na-dismiss yung empleyado for a cause, ibigyan ba natin siya ng financial assistance? Natural, hindi. Okay? Now, what about picketing? Picketing ay yung ginagawa nyo pag inaantok na kayo. O, gabi na, meron pa bang nagpipikiting na ba sa inyo? Huwag naman. Itutuloy pa natin ito. So, picketing is the right of workers to peacefully march to and fro before an establishment involved in a labor dispute, generally accompanied by carrying and display of signs, placards, banners intended to inform the public about the dispute as well as their grievances. So, ang picketing ay governed by the law on public assembly. Okay? Pwedeng mag-picket kahit walang strike. Pag inaantok ka, mag-picket ka. Diba? At pwedeng mag-strike kahit walang picketing. Eh bakit nagkakaroon ng picketing? Ganito yan. Yung mga empleyado naka-strike, hindi sila obligadong pumasok. Naka-strike nga sila eh. Kaya lang siyempre, sanay silang pumasok, so papasok pa rin yan. Ha? Pangalawa, mas maraming utos si Mrs. sa bahay. Alam ko yan eh. So kaya, kahit naka-strike sila, papasok. Pero magtitipon-tipon sila doon sa may gate. Ha? Kung saan man. Oh, hindi sila papasok. Nandun sila sa may gate, binabantayan nila. Kung sino ang papasok, kakantsawan nila. Yan yung tinatawag na heckling. Ine-heckle nila yung mga papasok, wala kayong pakisama, etc. etc. Kaya tuloy, yung mga hindi miyembro na dapat pumapasok, nagpa-file na lang ng leave. Bakit? Ayaw nila ma-heckle sila eh. One time, tinanong yan, 2014, 2014 sa political law, tinanong sa Barian. Yung tinatawag nilang heckler's veto. Ano ba yung heckler's veto? Kala ko ba patay na si Adolf? Hindi yun, Adolf Heckler yun. Hitler yun, hindi heckler. So, nangi-heckle. Okay? Ngayon, ano ba yung heckler's veto? The heckler's veto is the power of the government to regulate and even prevent freedom of expression if the one exercising the freedom is on a danger from the hecklers. Di ba? Nag-freedom of expression ka, pero may mga na-offend kang tao, katulad nung nag-conduct ng nag-stage ng exhibit yan sa PICC yata o CCP complex, nag-exhibit siya. Ang kanyang art exhibit, yung kanyang mga exhibit ay religious icons ng Catholic at mga Christians. Halimbawa, yung image ni Jesus Christ, nilagyan niya ng condom. Mga ganon. Ay, pwede i-google yan. Kasi lahat naman nakikita sa Google. Kahit yung nanliligaw, anong sabi? Google ka ba? Kung niya, bakit? Kasi natagpuan ko sa iyo lahat ng hinahanap ko eh. Okay, sabi ng nililigawan, Yahoo. Okay? Ay, huwag masyadong seryoso. Ika nga ng bini, ang buhay ay hindi karera. Kaya doon lang tayo sa Islam Pantropiko. Pag nasa Islam Pantropiko, abay, wag na muna tayong umuwi. Kasi masarap yung umiinom ka na may cherry on top. Naku, parang puro bini ito. Pero alam ba ninyo na ang original na member ng bini ay lalaki? Si Apolinario, mabini. Okay. Balikan natin ito. So, nagsama sila doon sa isang lugar. Hindi pumapasok sa factory. Nagkalabasan na sama ng loob. Sabi nung leader ng union, ito talagang employer natin masyadong kuripot. Nakermet. Ayaw ibigay yung ating mga demands. At ganito yan, ang laki ng kinikita niya. Sabi naman ng isa, oo nga. Di ba? Wala yan sa ginawa sa akin. Inapi ako niyan. Lahat na nagkalabasan. So ilalagay na yan dati, ang tawag dyan ay placards. At later on, naging tarpaulin, tsaka magmamarcha na yan. That's what you call picketing. It should be peaceful picketing. Hindi po pwede yung mga gumagawa ng karahasan. violence. Of course, pag nagpiket minsan, lalabas yung sama ng loob, ayan na, pwede ng kasuhan ng libel, pwede ba? Ay, pwede naman siguro. Kasi hindi naman excuse yan na porke mainit ng ulo mo dahil sa picketing, you will malign the reputation of another person like your employer. Okay? But picketing is not a requirement for a valid strike. You can have your strike without picketing, but you can have your picketing even without a strike. Oh, okay? Now, ano ba ang prohibition on picketing? No person engaged in picketing shall commit any act of violence, coercion, or intimidation, or obstruct the free ingress to or egress from the employer's premises for lawful purposes or obstruct public thoroughfares. Yan ang sinasabi natin. Ano? Na pag hinarangan nyo na yung gate, ayaw nyo na magpapasok, ayaw nyo na magpalabas ng mga tao sa gate na yan, ang gagawin ni employer, tatawag na yan ng pulis. At pag nakatawag na ng pulis, lagot na ang picketing nyo. I-disperse yung picket ninyo. Kayo rin. Okay? Because violence is never allowed. Diba? Tapos, huwag nyo ring harangan yung mga kalsada. Kasi, kahit naman walang strike, walang picketing, traffic na, harangan nyo pa. Yan ang sinasabi dyan. Okay? Now, under Article 280, there is the so-called improved offer balloting. Ano ba yung improved offer balloting? It happens during a strike. Okay? So, yung improved offer balloting on or before the 30th day of the strike. The employer may decide to improve the offer at i-communicate ito doon sa union. The union, upon receipt of the offer, may decide to vote, to accept or to reject the improved offer. Should the members of the union, majority, accept the offer, that would end the strike. Because they accepted the offer, they go back to work. That's improved offer balloting. Example. Going back to our example earlier, the demand of the union is a 100 peso increase in their daily wage. The offer of the employer is just 10 pesos. Sabi ni employer, that's blue sky bargaining. Ang sabi ng union, yung 10 pesos nyo, bulwarism yan. So, nagkaroon ng deadlock, nag-strike, assuming the strike is legal, on or before the 30th day of the strike. Meaning, nag-strike na sila, no? Na-realize ni employer, nako, mahirap pala pagka hindi pumapasok yung mga employees. Malungkot at saka walang kita dahil walang production. Kukunti lang yung nagtatrabaho. Hindi, alba, assembly line yan, hindi kompleto kasi walang mag-ooperate ng ibang machines So, hindi rin matatapos ang production. Ang gagawin ng employer, mag-improve ng offer. Wala pa kasing Facebook nung panahong yan nung 1974. Okay? Kasi kung may Facebook na, pwede mong i-chat na lang yan, di ba? Oy, union officer, union president, ito yung offer namin. Baka gusto mo, magbotohan kayo. Diba? Hindi po pwedeng si union president lang mag-decide It should be decided by the majority of the members of the union. Sabi ni employer, sige, improve namin yung offer. Instead of 10 pesos, gawin natin 11.50. Kinommunicate ngayon. Ang nagpapacilitate nito ay ang NCMB. Nakalagay Department of Labor, but it is the National Conciliation Mediation Board. Kukunin yung offer, ipapadala sa union, ang union mag-conduct ng balloting. Secret balloting. Bakit? Para walang impluensya. Tapos magbibilangan. Pwedeng i-facilitate ng NCMB yan. Majority pumayag na itanggapin na yung 11.50. Instead of 100, 11.50. Okay na sa amin yon. Okay na to. Ay di back to work na tayo, tapos na yung strike. Okay? Is that a mandatory requirement? That's not mandatory. But it is one of the millions of ways to end the stalemate. Okay? Para matapos lang. Para maka-progress na tayo. That's improved offer balloting. Now, kung hindi tinanggap ng majority ng members ng union, we cannot insist. Di ba? Kailangan bumoto sila eh. Bumoto ang majority ayaw. Hindi natin pwedeng pilitin yung ayaw. So tuloy ang strike. Kailan matatapos ang strike? Kapag binigay na ni employer yung mga demands. Or dineklara na illegal yung strike. O kaya dineklara na legal yung strike, makukompare si employer na ibigay yung demand ng union. Yan, matatapos ang strike. Article 280 has another aspect, and that is the reduced offer balloting. Reduced offer balloting happens in case of a lockout. Okay? So, same example tayo. Ang gusto ng union ay 100 pesos. Ang gusto ng employer, 10 pesos. Sabi ng employer, hindi ko kaya yan. Lockout tayo. Assuming legal naman yung lockout, hindi makapasok yung mga empleyado, kasi ayaw ng employer eh. Ngayon, on or before the 30th day of the lockout, the union may decide to reduce their offer. Okay? At ito naman ay ipapacilitate din ng NCMB. Nakalagay dyan, Department of Labor. But it is the NCMB, National Conciliation Mediation Board. So instead of 100 as earlier demanded, the employees union just reduce their offer to 97. 97 pesos instead of 100. O di ang gagawin ng NCMB, ko-communicate naman ito dun sa employer. O employer, yung union gusto ng ibaba, 97 na lang daw instead of 100. Ang gagawin naman nito, yun namang mga members of the board, board of directors, board of trustees, as the case may be, boboto. Okay? Pagka nakuha yung majority at tinanggap yung reduced offer, tapos ang lockout, open the gates and let all the employees in. Is that a mandatory requirement? The answer is no. It is just one of the ways to end the stalemate. But if the employee does not, if the employer does not want to accept, then the union cannot insist. Okay? Ito ay mga paraan lamang para tapusin ang stalemate, tapusin na ang strike o lockout in this case, no? Ayan. Kung ayaw, huwag natin ipilit. Ayun. Tinanong noong 2015 bar exam, George is an American. Hindi yata yung George na nakikita nyo sa screen. He's working as a consultant. Consultant for a local IT company. Dati IT, pero ngayon AI na, no? The company has a union. And George wants to support the union. How far can George go in terms of his support for the union? The answer could be found in Article 284. That as a general rule, aliens are not allowed to unionize or to join any union activity. Ang sabi ng Article 284, all aliens, natural or juridical, as well as foreign organizations are strictly prohibited from engaging directly or indirectly in any forms of trade union activities without prejudice to normal contacts between Philippine Labor Union and organized international labor centers. General rule, bawal. Pagka-alien. Exception, that the alien working in the country has a valid permit issued by the Department of Labor and Employment, and ito yung principle of reciprocity. That's it, alien are nationals of a country which grants similar or the same rights to Filipino workers. Meaning, dun sa bansa na pinanggalingan ni George, ang mga Filipino workers doon ay pinapayagan din na sumali sa union. Otherwise, hindi natin papayagan na mag-unionize itong si George. So pagkaganyan ng tanong, you apply the general rule. Okay? Now, if there is a need to cite the exception, that's the time you cite the exception. Kasi general rule palagi tayo eh. Okay? At alam natin na sa Article 40 of the Labor Code, as a general rule, aliens are not supposed to be working in the Philippines unless there is an undertaking that there's a manifestation that there's no Filipino is willing, able, and competent to occupy the position at the time it was needed. Tapos mag-a-apply siya ng permit. Diba? Tapos, meron siyang undertaking na magte-train siya ng at least 2 understudies. Ano yung understudies niya? Yung the most senior regular employees in the department where the alien is to be engaged. That's Article 40 of the Labor Code. Oh. Anong purpose ng 2 understudies? Para ma-transfer yung technology. Transfer of technology is the objective. Kasi magaling ang technology ng mga aliens di ba? Kaya hindi natin mahuli yung mga UFO yan. So yan ang rule That's the answer to that 2015 bar exam question. Now, puntahan natin yung execution of judgment. Di ba? Kasi once the judgment has become final and executory, it becomes immutable, unalterable, except correction of clerical errors. Okay?